ask, is there a gun in the home? You ask, do you have kids? Are your guns stored safely? You talk about safety, you talk about trigger locks. Florida tried to pass a law to prevent physicians from talking about that.
Great.
Yeah, that is Florida.
Well, yeah.
Look at, obviously, universal background checks. You know, like Colleen pointed out, you can go online and buy a gun, and nobody knows who you are, how old you are, or what you're planning to do with that. But I also think that there are steps we can take around child access prevention, and these are all conversations that we can have from very much from a public health standpoint.
What I'm saying is, it's not that all guns are dangerous,
right.
But when guns are dangerous,
This is when
women die. But the Organ Fatality Review, one of the things that we've learned is that when women die in Oregon, they die at the hands of guns.
We got people to wear seatbelts. Yeah. We got people to quit smoking. We got all those sorts of things. It was
it's the public health aspect. It's standard in primary care to have, you ask people about seatbelts, about bike helmets, about tobacco, and you ask, is there a gun in the home? You ask, do you have kids? Are your guns stored safely? You talk about safety, you talk about trigger locks. Florida tried to pass a law to prevent physicians from talking about that.
Great.
Yeah, that is Florida.
Well, yes.
Yes, so that's, to say the physician can't bring that up and ask, which is just stupid. But anyway, you ask about that, with safety, and that's a one-on-one conversation, but that's standard primary care and standard public health.
And it was a fight though to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something, I really appreciate it when my pediatrician asks those questions and says, are there guns in the home? Does anybody have a gun? Where are they?
Right.
And I also really appreciate, the media is here, so I'm going to tell you. When my doctor asks me, has anyone touched you in a way that you felt was threatening? Has anybody done anything to you that you didn't like? And I sit there and go, oh, are you kidding me? But she still asks me, and I love that. And I say, thank you for asking that. And so that's a really great thing.
Well, I appreciate the questions too. I think that they're really helpful.
It's an overwhelming public health crisis.
There are people out there who will draw the line even there. That their passion on this issue, extends to the notion that the doctors shouldn't be asking about guns in the home, even though you tell them over and over it's the same as asking about a swimming pool or cigarettes or anything like that. It's special because it's a gun.
To be able to have conversations with their peers about you've had issues with with your intimate partnership. That's not how the dude would say it, but why don't you just let me hold your gun for you for a while?
That can be less polarizing because it doesn't just affect, it is not a private issue. It's an issue that may be discussed in a doctor's office privately. It may be an issue that's discussed in your home, but it's a community issue and it should be discussed as a community as a result. There's an overwhelming amount of support for common sense solutions to violence that affects our families and our communities. And when you look at the actual policy solutions, this is not controversial. It's not controversial among gun owners. It can't be strong on domestic violence prevention and against reforming our gun laws.
And that is how you get consensus, and that is, because everything you said, it is a public issue, it is truly public health. And when Carla was talking before about how did we get seatbelts, how did we get people to stop smoking overall, I think about that with the anti-obesity work. And I think, well, I wouldn't have thought 30 years ago that you could have so few people smoking, but it's a long process, but you stay focused on the public health.
That it would be amazing to see that kind of screening done with young people when they're doing some of the anti-bullying work. Is there a gun in the home? Do you have access to a gun? I think there's a lot that we could do with just what questions do we need to be asking and when do we need to be asking them.
And I would defer also to Senator Jenny Burdick, who I'm sure you all know, who has been the lead person on this in the state of Oregon, cannot be here tonight. But there are a lot of opportunities, and I think, again, the more we can keep it focused on public health and on the sensible gun safety, I think the better we're going to do.